It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Welcome. Thanks for listening to the Sean Widmer Podcast. I appreciate having you here. Hopefully you have a good time while you are hanging out. We have got some stuff today. My eye, we need to discuss that, of course. I mean, who doesn't want some good eyeball talk? We're going to do some movie talk, I think, today. And I've got a top 5 list for you, a music top 5 list at the end of the podcast today. So thank you for, that's it. Goodbye. No, thanks for listening. It means a lot. Before we get into my eyes, I wanted to say thank you to new listeners. I had not looked at this in a minute, but I kind of went and I was looking at the metrics for the podcast. Every now and then I'll do this. I'll go and I'll kind of look at the metrics, see where we're at, see the state of the podcast. I haven't done this as much lately because we'll talk about this in a second. I haven't done it as much lately because this is now a hobby of mine that is in such a saturated, watered down format that looking at numbers anymore is just not fun for me because they just, with more and more people and more options to listen to, listenership on the pod kind of, we'll talk about that though in a second. But one thing I noticed was this podcast has primarily been a Spokane, Eastern Washington heavy podcast. It's kind of where the majority, probably 70% of the listeners, 75%, have been in that area because that's where I lived, that's where I was from, that's where I worked in radio. So people maybe found the podcast from that, or they know me, friends, family. And so the majority was there. Well, I was looking at the metrics. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Who's listening? What? Just kind of diving into the fun stuff. What are the ages? Is it men, women? Is it kids? Is it old people? And then one of the things you can see is where are people listening? And one of the things I noticed is in the last 4 weeks, the amount of listeners in Lexington, Kentucky, my new home, have grown in a pretty big way. And this was a new stat for me. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, cool. This is awesome. The listening base, has now 2 different homes. It's kind of like the places I've lived have listeners. So that means there's a welcome to the podcast. If you're new, thanks for listening. If you are one of the Lexington listeners, thank you for tuning in. Means a lot. Thank you. I thought we could maybe do a quick history of the pod. There's plenty of these that have happened over the course of the Sean Widmer podcast and the podcasts that have been around, that have other names for this I've had over the years. Started out as iSean in 2005. September 2005, first episode goes up. I think you can go back, maybe it was a year and a half ago. I found the hard drive with all my old podcasts on it, the OGs from 2005. I found the very first one from September 2005, and I played most of it back on an episode a while ago. It's terrible, right? This podcast started out as me doing it for 4 buddies because we all had iPods, and on the iPod Touch or iPod Color, one of those, there was a podcast label, and we didn't know what it was. So Jake and I made Jake and iSean, and we just made podcasts that we just thought were for our buddies. They were for everyone. We didn't know that at the time. Anyways, this podcast started out as that. It was just for a very select few people. They were pretty much voicemail messages that lasted about 10 minutes for our friends. Hang on just a second. I got to sneeze. Or maybe I don't. I feel like I had to. We're going to talk about that in a second. The allergies. Anyways, history of the pod. Where are we? So that starts out in 2005. That goes till probably about 2006, 2007. It's, every couple weeks, there's a new 10-minute iSean, Jake that are up. Then the podcast kind of changes because in that time, I was given my sports radio show. My first radio show that was mine, and Spokane Sports Show happens, and so the podcast became sort of a kind of a post-show situation, as if doing 3 hours of radio by yourself, 2 hours for a while, then 3 hours, as if that wasn't just grueling enough. I was throwing on an extra 30 minutes. Now this 30 minute podcast that was this one was mainly aimed towards people on message boards that I was on, football and basketball and Madden and college football video game message boards. It was kind of geared towards that. So I had my local sports show that was Spokane, and then I would do like 20 to 30 minutes of more of a national show that was my podcast for a couple years. And that all was incorporated, by the way, with my website at the time, SeanWhitmer.com, which doesn't exist anymore. I don't know who has it now, but now it's, for me, Sean's life. But SeanWhitmer.com, it was kind of, I honestly was kind of like a weird, like cutting edge kind of website. Malcolm, my buddy Malcolm, made it for me. He was in early, like he had internet classes and web design classes in the mid 2000s, and they were kind of cool. He learned some cutting edge stuff. He made this website for me and helped me like upkeep it because I didn't know how the back end stuff worked at all. But one of the things I did on it was I hosted my podcast there, and then at Gonzaga basketball games, I was going as media. So I'd sit on media row, and Deadspin, the website Deadspin, they had a thing at nighttime where they in the comments for their very last post, their last post would be like a running live blog. And they'd live blog a basketball game or a baseball game, and then all the people in the comments would chat. And it was just like this live chat that was going on. And I started that for Gonzaga basketball. So I would be live blogging at the Gonzaga games. And this lasted for about a month and a half, and it got weirdly popular because the Gonzaga basketball message boards, the ZAG boards, found it. And so all these guys started jumping into my comments, and it became kind of a big thing. And shout out to Oliver Pierce, sports information director, who I love. But at this time, no one quite understood what was happening. And I'm sitting on Media Row just typing like crazy. And it's this live blog that's kind of out there. And people are, it's kind of Wild West. It's not moderated. And so it was crazy. And he approached me with the assistant athletic director, and they were like, you have to stop. We're going to revoke your media credential if you keep live blogging from Media Row. And because no one was doing this right at the time. Now, Jim Meehan, the spokesman review guy, he's live tweeting from the sidelines all the time. That's just expected. But in 2007, 2008, this wasn't what was happening. You were there as a media member to cover everything. I was doing interviews at the end of the game, and then I was interviews for the radio show, and then I was also helping with the post-game show on the radio. And so that was kind of my job there. My job wasn't to live blog. And so the people who were writing, they were going to write up their report for the Spokesman Review that was going to be in the newspaper for the next day. It wasn't meant, like the internet and all that stuff wasn't there. So it got stripped down. And then that led me to like a weird spiral with the podcast for a second, because that bothered me. I'm very easily irritated. It challenged what I thought was a cool idea. And so I just kind of shut the website down. Well, what I didn't think about when I did that, it kind of shut the podcast down because it was where I was hosting it. Anyways, this is supposed to be a quick history of the pod. But then the podcast came back in 2009. I get the job for the Jay and Kevin show on Coyote Country, and the radio presence that I had from going from an AM sports talk to the FM, one of the big morning shows in Washington State, my podcast presence became a little more, like, it was kind of cooler because more people knew that I was doing this kind of stuff. And so in like 2010, the podcast blew up. It blew up. It was like really highly listened. Like the numbers were crazy. Really crazy. I would be very excited. I would look at metrics. Like I said, I looked at metrics. Now I hardly look at them anymore. I was looking at them all the time in 2010, 2011. A little egotistical Sean Whitmer. But it was getting thousands and thousands of downloads an episode for these 15-minute episodes that were about Gonzaga basketball, Seattle Seahawks, other Spokane sports stuff. And it was really popular because the market wasn't saturated yet. Right, there was not a ton of podcasts. I was still kind of cutting edge, and this shows what happened. I was not that great at it. I'm still not great at it, but I was not that good at it back then. But it was not. Wasn't as many options, so it was really huge. Then I let the podcast go for about 6 years. I didn't do it for quite a while, very sporadically, like maybe once a year, once every 6 months. I'd throw something up, and then that podcast. With that server, I just lost. I stopped paying for that server because it's not super cheap, which is why I thank you Patreon members for keeping this podcast going. It means a lot. And I let it go. Well, then I wanted it back, so I got it back before like COVID, maybe 2018. Brandon and I started getting into creative mode. We were big on Casey Neistat, and I brought the podcast back, and it's never caught like it did in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Like, not at all. We went from thousands and thousands of downloads. I remember there was a moment where it was getting like, there was over 10,000 downloads for an episode. I remember being like, this is it. Like, I'm on the cusp of it. And I actually used that to get a national CBS basketball podcast that I did for like 6-7 months. I did it for one NBA season, and then it was not good. And then we were not asked back the next year. And then that's when real NBA guys started coming back and being like, oh, we can do podcasts. So they didn't need random Sean Widmer from Spokane, Washington doing the NBA podcast for CBS. They wanted really famous people, which was the right move for them. Anyways, now it's just what it is now. It's turned into just kind of my journal. We just shoot the crap here for, couple minutes, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. And when I say quick, you now see how long it takes. That's the history of the podcast. Quick one. Thank you to the new listeners. You're caught up now. We're not going to do that again for a while, maybe for a while. So one of the things about Lexington that I'm not enjoying as much, because I enjoy a lot of it. The spring here and my allergies are nuts. Nuts. I am a sneeze factory. I need to get some kind of plastic guard in front of my face. That's just, I feel like you could see them in like weird sci-fi tech movies, but I need just a clear shield because the sneezes come out of nowhere. And obviously you're trying to like cover your mouth and stuff, but sometimes it's just so violent that I need some kind of guard because I am a mucus machine, a sneeze factory. It's disgusting, but it is what it is. But the other problem is, and it happened to me last year as well, my eyes are just beat up by whatever the pollen is here in Kentucky. And it looks like I either have pink eye or I got stabbed in the eye or I've got, some kind of like worm living in my eye that has just, infected my entire life, and it's just gross. And so like you can kind of see it if you're watching on YouTube in my left eye. We went out last night with some of Anna's friends. Very fun time. Great. Her friends are awesome. And I was like embarrassed the whole night because I don't really know these people and I want to be friends with them, right? It's my wife's, some of her best friends and their spouses. And I'm like, I want to be friends with them because they could be around us a lot. And here I am trying to kind of get to know them. And I'm creepy dude with what looks to be pink eye, sneezing all over the place because of these allergies. Very embarrassing. And I'm very self-conscious about that. So that was great. So shout out to the allergies here. A lot of shout outs today. Shout out to the allergies in Kentucky. One of the things I've been thinking about lately, because I haven't had this feeling in a very long time, but it's hit me in the last maybe month, is I've been craving some movie theater activities. I guess by movie theater activities, I mean go to a movie. It's not like you're going to a movie theater for a lot of activities. I'm not excited to go play the arcade games. I would just go for a movie. So I'm excited. I would love to go see a movie. And I love the movie theater experience. This dates back to forever ago. One thing I would tell kids here is we're going to rabbit trail real quick. That's also what this podcast is before we bring it back to movies. One thing I would tell young kids, if you have a personality that's kind of like mine, where you're a little more outgoing and you like to meet people, one of my favorite things in life is meeting people. I'm fascinated by humans. That sounded kind of creepy, but that's the best way for me to put it. I love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I love interacting with them. I love making a relationship with people that I meet and having just more people to chat with. I really like that. And so if you're like that and you're like that personality, which I have, and I don't know what, the Enneagram numbers or the love language or whatever chart you go by, I don't know where I fall in that. But if you are in that world and you're younger, or you have a kid that is like that and younger and they're very social and they like to meet people, I cannot say enough good things about working in a mall. Oh my gosh. I will tie this into the movies, but I loved working in the mall through college. It's one of my part-time jobs. There's a moment there where I'm working way too many part-time jobs. I've got the video game store. I'm selling cell phones once or twice a week with Paul Takasaki at Northtown Mall. I'm working at the Birkenstock sandal store in the mall, and I was working the radio station, and I was trying to do school. School lost. It took a hit. And then the other jobs, it's just chaos. And still I had a lot more free time than I have now, which is weird. Working 4 jobs and school. And that just is a testament to what happens as you get older and have kids. I can't stay up as late as I used to, and your kids take up a lot of time. It's just weird to think. 4 jobs in school, and I had more free time then than I do now. But I loved the mall. And I mean, great friendships in the mall, some lifelong friendships. My guy Walter, who I love dearly, he doesn't text me anymore, but very one-sided relationship. And but I met him at the mall. I love him. Pat, who runs our college football dynasty, he's a great one. It's just been, Craig. Every now and then I hit Craig up on PlayStation Network and get to talk to him. I made some really great, long-lasting relationships in the mall. And it was just a great time, right? I mean, yeah, we had our routines. I had a guy from Mike Love from KB Toys. He and I would get lunch on Fridays. There was, of course, you had to try to be friends as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old with the Wet Seal girls. Of course, they ate lunch at the same time on the weekends, and I remember always trying to take my lunch break around then and trying to swipe in on the conversations. And the conversations were always about all the cute guys in the mall that they liked, and they would talk to me about it. My name never came up on that, but I'd be like, yeah, man, that guy, he seems cool. Totally cool. Just, waiting until they had gone through every single store in the mall on a date with everyone that maybe I could somehow land that. No, instead I just did lunches on Saturdays, but it was great. I loved the mall. I loved the atmosphere. But one of the great things about it, shout out podcast, Jason and Derek, who played basketball with us on Saturdays. When I wasn't working Saturdays, we'd play basketball at Peaceful Valley. These were 2 guys who worked at the mall at the Regal Cinemas. And it's funny looking back. The mall is just a bunch of 20 to 24-year-olds, 18 to 24-year-olds who are just running all these stores and acting like they're terrified that someone's going to come in and get them in trouble. I look at it now as a 43-year-old. I'm like, man, I was really scared when I would do something at work that it was going to be like, woo, one of the big old bosses who's one of the 35-year-olds is going to come in and lay down the hammer. No, they're not. They're at home trying to do anything else besides think of work. We ran that mall, but we ran it under this fear that these 35-year-olds were the craziest dictators and toughest people and the highest level of professional that there was. Boy, I look at that now, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the case. Anyways, we were good kids, but we could kind of run ruckshot around the place, and you kind of get into some tomfoolery here and there. And there's the back end, like at least the mall I worked at, there was an underground network of tunnels that would like lead to storage areas, and sometimes you'd snoop around there and find weird stuff and promotional items from stores that had been long forgotten that you would maybe borrow permanently. But these guys who worked at Regal Cinemas, they loved video games. So I worked at the video game store. So we had this relationship. They also played hoops. I played hoops. And we had this relationship where it was, I would illegally let them borrow if someone returned a video game they wanted to play. So like NBA Street Volume 2, right? Came in, someone returned it. I'd let Derek know, like, hey man, I got the PS2 copy. I got an extra one, NBA Street Volume 2. You want to borrow it for a couple days? You want to rent it for a couple days for free? Absolutely. So you take it, bring it back. It's a used copy of a game. We'd get it back on the shelf. No harm, really, no foul. Not supposed to do it, but we would do it. And in turn, we made a great relationship with the 2 guys who ran the ticket office and ripped the tickets at Regal Cinemas, which meant anytime I wanted to go to a movie for free, I was in, because one of those 2 guys was always working. And again, at some point, it's 20-year-olds who are running the movie theater. They're going to let you in if you're in their family, the mall family, the mamily. And it was great. And I went to so many movies back then. I loved it. I would go to a movie. I would just any old weeknight if I worked. After I got done work, we'd close the gate at 9 o'clock. You'd walk up to Regal Cinemas and say, okay, what's playing in the next 30, 40 minutes? And it didn't matter because you're going for free. So I saw so many movies in the early 2000s that, I mean, I just never would watch again, or I would never go to now, because movies are expensive now. And I want to go see a couple movies, like that Thunderbolts Marvel movie I want to see real bad. I kind of want to see the Minecraft movie. Call Me a Little Kid. Oh, thank you. I want to see that. I kind of want to see that Michael B. Jordan movie, Sinners. My problem is it's got a couple things I don't like. Michael B. Jordan is someone I want to see all of his movies. I love him as Creed. I loved him in Black Panther. I loved him in was he Hardball? What's the sports movie he's in? Why can't I remember that now? Anyways, I love Michael B. Jordan. So I want to see Sinners, but I don't do demon movies. I don't do any of that. I don't do those. That period. I'm not doing those. I hate those movies. They don't work for me. I'm anti those. And I don't know if it has that vibe to it, kind of the evil spirits vibe. I know it's vampire related. If it's just vampires, I'm cool with it. I also don't really do scary movies, and it looks scary. So I want to see it because I'm hearing great things. It's just in a world that I don't really love, and I probably wouldn't enjoy. But I kind of want to see it still. I've heard really good things. Anyways, I'm kind of in this, I want to go to a movie kick. It's just expensive. That's an expensive hobby. I'm very thankful in life that my favorite hobby in the world is not expensive, that being basketball. With basketball, once you get a pair of shoes and a ball, that's kind of your investment into that, and you're good. Go find a pickup game somewhere, and you can play for free a lot of times, maybe $5 to get into a gym if there's something like that. But for the most part, I mean, I spent the majority of my 20s and 30s just playing pickup basketball outside, making, again, lifelong relationships for free. And all you're in is a pair of shoes, maybe once a year. So 60 to $80. If you're going to Ross for them Ross come-ups, it was like $40, and you're good. That's not all hobbies. One of my other big hobbies, Dungeons and Dragons. I got my Dungeon Master's Guide right here for you YouTube people. I was just looking at it because I need to see what kind of rules are, how the rules have changed between, anyways, doesn't matter. That one can get real expensive. A lot of things you can buy in that world. So I'm thankful that my number one hobby is a really cheap one. But if movies is your hobby, you can get in it for a lot of money a month, considering it's $10 to $20 to see a movie. All right, I'm in movie mode. Someone tell me if Sinners is going to be one I hate. Thank you. Can we do Kelly's What Are You Into real quick and wrap up this podcast, this 15-minute podcast? Your favorite 15-minute podcast, this one.
Kelly's What Are You Into?
We've got to talk about the Morgan Wallen album, I'm the Problem. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. I spent a lot of time with it on Saturday, went on a long walk with Woods, had a drive with Huck and Woods that let me listen to it, had a drive by myself yesterday that I got to listen to it. I got to put some work in on the album. So I have put together top 5 songs, knee-jerk reaction, top 5 songs as of right now. This is being recorded on Sunday, May 18th. This is subject to change all the time. This will not be the final top 5 for me. But as of right now, these are my 5 favorite songs on the album. It's overwhelming album, 37 songs, so many songs. Really good. I think it is as good as his last album. I think it is as good. I think it's as good as any of his albums. It's really good. So, and again, I'm a Morgan Wallen fan. I'm not a country music fan. I need to get the caveats out there for people who are mad no matter what. I get it. Country music fans not as happy. It's very poppy. I'm a pop music guy. So this is, this is where I'm coming from in that world. If you are thinking this is a country music fan ranking an album that is going to be considered country by the media, I understand it is not a country album for a lot of people who want it to be more 90s country sounding. I don't want to argue about that right now, but just know I do love pop music. So maybe that influences my top 5. Here are the top 5 Morgan Wallen songs on the album from number 5 to number 1. Number 5, his song with Eric Church, number 3 and number 7. Just a good old-fashioned drinking and driving song, right? Something we all are excited to sing about. But it really is good. And Eric Church sounds great in it. It's clever, right? Number 3, Dale Earnhardt. Number 7, Jack Daniels. Those two things do not combine well. Driving Fast and Jack Daniels do not mix. And it's a clever song. All the Morgan Wallen songs are clever. The guys who write for him are the most clever writers in Nashville, bar none. So that's a good one. Number 5. Number 4, LA Night. Now, this one I also give a little credit to. It makes me think of my wife. I met her when she was in LA, and we loved LA. So any song about Los Angeles makes me think of her. This one is very catchy. I really like LA Night. It's got a really cool beat behind it. LA Night, number 4. Number 3, Eyes Are Closed. This one has gone up and down my top 5 a lot. Okay, where like it's been as high as number 2, it's been as low as number 5. Eyes Are Closed, so catchy. I love a lot of the material Morgan does with his stuff on his songs about girls that he's lost and how he approaches them. I think is really clever. I think it's very fun. Eyes Are Closed. Do you think of me? Do you still think of me when your eyes are closed? Who are you thinking of when your eyes are closed? Number 2, Drinking Till It Does. I love this song. I love it. It's probably in the last 2 days my most listened to song on the album. The reason why it's not my number 1 though is the number 1 song I maybe have not listened to as much in the last couple days, but it's because it's been out for 2 months. But Drinking Till It Does, again, very clever. Drinking can't fix the mistakes I've made. Drinking can't get you back, can't get the girl back, all that, but I'm going to drink till it does. It's just clever. It's a silly, clever song, and I love the sound of it. Number 2, Drinking Till It Does. And my favorite song on this new Morgan Wallen album, and I think it's one of his best songs ever, and this is coming from someone who is a big Morgan Wallen fan, is the song Just In Case. I think it is a top shelf Morgan Wallen song. I think it goes down as one of his best songs. It is super duper catchy. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people who are not instantly in on it, but I believe you'll listen to it a couple times and go, wow. Very clever lyrics, very catchy song. All right, there you go. Thank you for listening. You can always make comments over at YouTube, Spotify, or over at seanslife.com, SEAN. Spotify had one comment we needed to get to, and I don't even remember what Ian's commenting about from 6 days ago. I think, this is from Brandon's episode. We talked about Brandon bird watching, and this one said there are roughly 11,000 species of bird. They made a movie about trying to see as many birds as possible in a year. The current record is 6,852 species of birds in a year. That's crazy. Very cool. Thank you for the stats, Ian. All right, thank you for listening. Goodbye.